All right, I guess we're live. It's not quite working that well. There we go. Now we're getting there. All right, I think we're live. Anybody out there? How we all doing? Let's see. Who will show up? Who will not? I guess I can start telling you a little bit about April Monday. It's been a really fun time up here in Montreal, Canada, 2019. I believe it's going to Russia next year, and um, the honey show was about the only thing that was really having a trouble, and it was 44 entrants for the honey was contaminated. Well, maybe not contaminated, adulterated is a better word. And the adulterated honey that disqualified everybody. Um, I think it was $150 to enter each of your honeys, and a lot of people were not happy with the results since it's a what do you say? Um, you give up your honey, so therefore you don't even get a chance to see what the results of your adulterated honey were because now you don't own the honey. So you don't know what's wrong with it, and therefore you don't get to see the results. You don't know why it was adulterated. There was a lady from New Zealand I was talking with, along with Virginia Webb, and she was explaining that there's some uh, her honey would sound like it's adulterated because of the way it's tested. I'm not sure about the testing or anything, but all I know is there was a lot of people that were not happy, and they were expecting to at least get their honey back if it's not being able to compete in the show, but they're not getting it back either. So there was a lot of unhappy people. If you watch one of my other videos I uploaded, I'm walking through all the entries of the honey show, the meads, all the different types of drinks that were made with honey, the different innovations, the different beekeeping tools and stuff. There was 24 or 26 entries there, and only one placed. All their other ones were discontinued, so apparently the rules weren't clear enough for everybody on that. The photography was really cool. There's a lot of good things to watch or look at there. Um, what else was there? Oh, Albert from Eco Hives. He entered a bunch of old books. There was Bee Journal from there was like Volume 4, number 10, back from like 1859. There was the Canadian Bee Journal from 1887. There was first editions, a lot of books that way back in the day. Um, there was some really neat stuff going on there. So if you ever get a chance to go to Apimondia, which if you're on the North American continent, it's not going to be back here for quite a while. Like I said, I think it goes to Russia next year, and then it's going to Chile in 2023. I'm not sure where in 2021 or 2022, but it's massive. That is huge. A lot of great research going on there. Um, there's all kinds of presenters. I ran into, let's see, Dr. Katie, or no, Dr. Allison McAbee. She presented there. She did very well. Um, I ran across Dr. David Tarpey from North Carolina. Miss McAbee's from Canada. I saw pictures on Instagram of Dr. Sammy Ramsey, but I did not see him. There's so many people there. Ran into a couple inspectors from Pennsylvania. I'm an inspector from Tennessee, so we talked for quite a bit. Um, Melanie Kirby was there. I had dinner with her tonight, along with Jennifer Holmes, who's the uh, Florida State president. There was a gentleman, Albert, there. He runs a lot of bees in Florida, sitting next to Albert and or Al and Michael Palmer. We had a good time talking about woodworking and everything else. Everybody else was talking bees. I think Michael Palmer and me were talking about making windows and the old-fashioned way and building uh, different things on the house and gardening and stuff like that. Uh, so there was a good time. Who else was there? There was Sam Comfort. Had a good talk with him and Tuckabee. Sam Comfort is a pretty cool guy. He's Some people think he's the Antichrist of beekeeping, but he's actually got some neat ideas. Uh, he's a good guy. Tuckabee, if you ever seen her, she knows her bees. Um, there was a lot of people there at the tables. A lot of good people. A lot of fun talking to them. And looks like I got one other person on here. If you got any questions, please ask. I'm sitting here in a hotel room bored. It's 11:30 at night, and I'm just swaying back and forth in the chair because I'm hyper. All right. So this is supposed to be questions and answers. If you got anything, I'm just rambling on about Appomundia. The hotel's probably 7 or 8 blocks away, and it kills me walking here and walking back, and then walking all around all day. So it is huge. They were saying somebody said around 8,000 people. I don't know if it was that many people, but there was definitely a lot of people there. There is a lot of vendors. If you watch the video of me walking through the vendor hall, yeah, I know I do sway the camera quite a bit back and forth, but uh, it's what 33 minutes of video of me just walking through. Let's see. Um, so back to getting ready for winter. You should have enough honey in there. That I like to do the box of bees, and for every box of bees I have at least a box of honey on there. If I get 2 boxes of bees, I usually want 2 to 3 boxes of honey. If I get 3 boxes of bees, I want 3 to 4 boxes of honey. You can always extract it in the spring, sell it in the spring when everybody else is on honey. If you leave it on there through the spring, and then um, the bees will get that big boost because they already got honey in there, which means they have enough protein that they can actually make good bees. Feeding that 1-to-1 sugar in the spring, I just never really been too keen on that because it, it's there to boost the brood. And I was talking with uh, Michael Palmer tonight, and he was the same thing as he's like they're not they're not getting what they need out of just that sugar water. They need the pollen. So you're really not getting anything till the pollen comes in. And if you had the food stores in there, then they already have some of the amino acids in the honey. They're looking for the other stuff in the pollen to raise the brood. So unless you're feeding a pollen substitute in the spring with that 1-to-1 sugar, you're really not getting them to build up their brood very quick. We've had problems in the past where we see people building their bees up too quick, and then they get that late frost and it gets really cold in the hive. And now the queen's laid a bunch of brood, and there is this huge patch of brood, on 2 or 3 frames, and the bees can't cover it all. So they'll actually sacrifice and they'll cover just enough. And then you have everything on the outside that is frozen, and now they got to sit there and pull all that out. So it's not necessarily good to build your bees up too quick. Now, if you're living down in Florida, then you don't have those problems with that late frost very often, and you can build up bees quicker. Same with Georgia. The further north you get, Tennessee, we have a little more problems. Kentucky, you start moving up further, you're gonna be further behind getting your bees. That's why everybody wants to pull bees up from Georgia and Florida and sell them up north because you can get them much earlier. That way, you get them right there when the flow's going. Well, if you're doing that, then I I like the local bees. They're still they're going to be a couple weeks behind here in Tennessee than the ones in Georgia, but they're still building up. You're going to have a better bee because it's going to be local bee. There's I don't want to get down on Georgia breeders and producers, but there has been a lot of troubles with the Georgia bees in Tennessee. I don't know if they're just giving us the crap bees, then everybody else gets the good bees. But we've been having some troubles in Tennessee with the Georgia bees, and everybody complains. It's like, well, then find a different source. If you're getting the bees from the same person every year, it doesn't matter if it's Georgia or wherever. If you're constantly getting bad bees, then find a new supplier. It just maybe they have bad bees. So, you know, let's see. Um, if you're just getting into bees, gain all the knowledge you can now. Go to bee clubs, go to conferences. You're missing Monday now, but it is the perfect time to learn everything. So in spring you can get your bees and you're ready to hit the road running. Um, Great time to either buy equipment or start making your equipment. Making it's going to be cheaper unless you get to the frames, and they're just paying frames at one day. You're really going to eat up a lot of time because there's a lot of different cuts on those frames. Going around here with April Monday, there's been a lot of different frame designs, a lot of different hive designs. Um, there's full plastic hives, there's full plastic frames, there's plastic top bars and bottom bars, and then you stick wood between. And then there's been the opposite. There's plastic on the sides, and then you just put your wood across the top and bottom. Um, there's been all kinds of different tools and shapes and sizes of all kinds of things. I must have seen probably a good 50 different styles of hive tools. That's 50. I mean, there's a lot of different hive tools out there. Some of them are handmade. There wasn't very many, but a lot of them are just, I mean, there was one where your hive tool, it actually had a spot in so your finger could go in there so you could spin it around or whatever. I don't know. There were some that looked kind of medieval. They had some nasty teeth on the one end, and you know, there's all kinds of different extractors. Oh, over in the honey area, I saw this really cool extractor, and at first I was looking at it, I was like, "What in the world?" And it was on an angle, and I'm thinking, "All right, it's going to spin like this instead of around at the bottom. It's going to spin this way." I'm like, "That ain't right." I'm like, how's that going to work? That's going to be so lopsided. It's going to walk right across the floor. Well, then I walked around the side of it, and it's a extractor for disabled people. I was like, that is awesome. You can roll up in a wheelchair, or if you're like me, I get tired very easily because my bad back and my knees. So I could sit down and actually extract and put them in the extractor, and then the extractor just lifts up and then it spins. I'm like, that's perfect. I love that idea. I'm glad somebody's out there helping, thinking about the disabled people that because there is people that are in wheelchairs that work bees. If you've never seen it, you know they are out there. There are people that um, still want to do bees, but they just really can't. Well, they figure out ways to do it. Um, I've helped one gentleman. Uh, Him and his wife are great people. And his wife's in a wheelchair, and she really can't get out. And the only thing that I fear is that she loves the bees so much, and she sits right next to the beehive on their deck in her wheelchair. Well, she has to go past the door a little bit, open up the door, and then get inside and shut the door to get away from the bees if anything ever happens. Nothing has in 3 years, but there's always that chance. So, but she's doing really well. She loves them. Um, so, all right. Well, I'm going to try to do this a little bit more often so people get used to it, and I'll try to do it earlier. If you got any ideas on what time or what days to do this, uh, I I will try to figure out a good day to kind of like every week or every 2 weeks or something, and maybe get more people interested in chatting with me. I know you guys haven't heard too much about who I am or what I do, but I've kept bees for about 20 years or so. Never had to treat my hives. I will this year because I lost a lot through trachea mites. But I mean, I've never had to do them because of the way I manage my bees and the way I keep roll mites down. And hive beetles don't. I hardly ever see a hive beetle in my yard or in my hives. State inspector. I run the honey convention, so I wrote for bee culture. Which after I get done with this, I'm going to start writing my next article for them. Um, Spoke at many different conferences, so I'm getting out there. People are starting to get to know me. So this is just I figured, well, I'm getting tired of hearing all the bad information at the bee clubs sometimes. So um, even though bee clubs are very important, you need to go to a bee club so that at least you get a reference, or at least you get somebody that will say, "Hey, come look at my hives," or "Can you please look at my hives?" So bee clubs are important. Um, all right, well, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment below, or let me know when's a good time to do questions and answers. You can always email me, thebmanj@gmail.com, or I'm a state inspector in Tennessee, so if you got a question, you can always, if you're in East Tennessee, you can have me come out to your farm or your house and we'll look through the bees. If you got a question, list it below and I'll answer it to the best of my knowledge. If I don't know the answer, I will find somebody that does, and I'll help you out however I can. All right. So we've been doing this for almost 20 minutes, and I appreciate anybody that watches it. And as always, have a great time and be safe. All right. See you next time.